quick wristwatch check. I'm wearing the Oyster Perpetual 36, reference number 116000 in white dial. This is my first ever Rolex, and it is currently my only Rolex and the only Rolex I have ever owned so far. Before we get into today's story, I have decided to do a bit of a new setup. So I have the new Rolex magazine I got from the Rolex service video. Go watch that if you haven't yet. Up in the bookshelf right here. And I have also got two magazines here that I obtained from my recent trip to Asia. I'm gonna add it to the cabinet or whatever that thing's called real quick. Let's get on with today's video. So today I want to talk about how I bought my first ever Rolex. And this continues off the tail end of my previous story, which has to do with how I got into watches. So for recap, for those of you who haven't watched that video yet, what I was saying was in my last year of university, I was sitting in class in this ethics class and just bored out of my mind. I remember my professor at the time, he was a very strong believer of meditation. He thinks meditation will improve your lives. It will help you sharpen and refine your focus on what you're doing. So every single class for 15 minutes, he makes us meditate. Now, here's the thing, right? I think it was a 2-hour lecture. And the beautiful thing about meditation, or I guess enforced meditation, is that while the professor is meditating with the rest of the pupil, his eyes are closed. So he doesn't know what some of or all of his people are doing, unless you make a lot of noise, of course. So without all that being said, what I mean to say is I was browsing Hodinkee blogs in class and I saw the Oyster Perpetual 39, the I forgot the reference number. I think it was the 1143. Hold on, let me check this real quick. This is important. Okay, it turns out I was right. It was the 114300. That was the 39 millimeter Oyster Perpetuals. That was only around for a couple years. Actually, you know what? That might not be right. I know the full range of 39s was around for a decent amount of years, but the black and white dials were only around for a year to like a year and a half, if I recall correctly. Because I remember sitting in class and I saw these, I saw this thumbnail on this article of two watches, and they just looked so perfect. It was so minimalistic, a great blend between, as I've said a lot of times, like a great blend between being refined, being very sharp, very minimalistic, but also very sophisticated, seeing that it is a very well executed product by Rolex. So I was sitting there, I was reading the article, and I was like, oh my god, I want to try these watches on. So I then, after a few days or a few weeks, I can't recall now, it was a while ago, I went to the Rolex GWC boutique here in Vancouver. I tried the watches on. They had everything available. This is before the virus hit. I tried them on, but unfortunately back then my wrists were a lot scrawnier than they are now. I have definitely gained weight throughout the past couple of years. So I thought they were too big for me. I tried the white dial on too, and crazy thing is, if I would have bought that, I would have made a lot of money, yada yada yada. You know, everything is about inflation these days, or appreciation. So I decided then to try on the Oyster Perpetual 34, which they also had in stock at that time. I tried it on, loved it, but thankfully the sales rep told me that usually, you know, seeing that this was my first Rolex, probably saw that I was super green. He told me that, look, if you're gonna ever get out of this watch, you are young, you're gonna gain weight in your 30s, 40s, whatever. You want to have something that you know you can wear for a while. So he was really pushing me towards the 39, but it was too big for me at that time. So I tried on the 36, and I tried on this exact model, this exact dial, the white dial. Let me see if I can focus here. The white dial, and instantly when I saw it on my wrist, I was just like, okay, this is the most perfect watch for me ever. Of any single brand, of any single line in Rolex, of any single size, this is the watch for me. However, at that time, I was a student still. I had an ass load of student loan I got to pay off. So I didn't buy the watch back then. This was, I want to say, early 2019. It was either late 2018 or early 2019. Okay, so at that point, I had a shining light bulb in my head. I had a halo behind me, like, okay, I need to work hard. Everything I'm gonna do now doesn't matter, like what job I end up in, doesn't matter, you know, getting a house, finding a girl, whatever. I need to buy this Rolex however I can. So I picked up a part-time job. I remember I started like pulling crazy hours and things like that. And long and behold, it was 2019. Back in late 2019, I went to Rolex. I didn't exactly have the means. I still have some student loans I got to pay off. But I feel like I've been working so hard this past year. I need to get that watch. So I went to Rolex. I saw the watch. It was still there along with all of the other, like, you have your OPs, you have your day just, you have your day dates. I remember there was this platinum that ice blue dial date that was sitting there for so long. Like, it was there before I went there and it was there after I went there. It was the day 40. And I don't think there were any like Submariners I saw, but there were definitely precious metal Daytonas, like chocolate dials. There were definitely Air Kings, there were definitely Explorers, Explorer 2s, things like that. I didn't care about any of those. I went straight there. I asked for the Oyster Perpetual 36. I saw it in the case. I was like, yo, let me try on that one. Tried it on. It was the exact same. I was still as scrawny as ever. And I was like, okay, I want to buy this watch, right? And taking the Pontiff's advice, I wanted to put it on credit card because I calculated like, look, I have this much cash on me right now. It's going to take me this many months to, for paychecks to come in. I'm going to, pay my card off, and then I'm going to keep paying my student loans, so on and so forth. The one thing that I didn't think about, like I brought my ID and my wallet and whatever, but the one thing I forgot was the PIN to my credit card. I had 2 credit cards at that time. I had 1 debit, 2 credit. There wasn't enough cash on the debit, and I forgot. I just, like, I never had to use it because I just buy things online or I tap it, right? I never had to buy anything over like $1,000. I forgot the code. So when we got to basically when you go into GWC, like there's this like triangular display area, and if you tell them that you want to buy something, I remember I was brought inside this room, this kind of, I guess, office space, because it was pretty clustered in the back, and they sat me there. It was this sales rep, his name is Miles. I think he still works at GWC, but at Chopard instead. He sits me in there. There's a table, there's a nice like huge, I want to say, probably at least 4-foot portrait or painting of a 2-tone bluesy Submariner. He sat me in there. He's like, okay, let me go get the paperwork, whatever. So I was sitting there, I was so excited, and then I was like, oh shoot, do I know my password? Or maybe the tap can go through. So he brought it, and then it was like the box, the watch, it was sitting in there. It was so pretty. And then you had the I guess like the contract or the terms of sales or whatever, and then you had the little credit card machine here. So I tapped my card, didn't go through, obviously. I'm like, oh yeah, let me try another one, right? At this point already, it's the same experience as I had buying my Tudor Black Bay 36, where I was not the most comfortable, but it was not the fault of the sales rep. It was just kind of my own nerves. So I tapped the second card, didn't go through. I was like, oh shit. So I'm like, okay, let me try inserting it. I insert the card. Thankfully, business was slow that day. If it was like crazy busy, there were people outside, I would have been so embarrassed. But it was a pretty dead day. I think, back then Rolex wasn't on fire like the way it was during the year that happened to everyone, and also the way that it is now. But going back to the story, I inserted my card, tried the passcode twice, didn't work. I was like, oh shit, this is gonna lock it. So I tried the other card, and thank you to the sales rep for being so patient with me. I locked the second card. I tried 3 full times. I really wanted the watch. I tried 3 full times, and I locked the second credit card. And I was like, dude, I'm so sorry, man. I was so embarrassed. I was so ashamed, and all the nerves were kicking in. And I was like, I will definitely be back for this watch, please. Like, I don't know what I can tell you or offer you. There's nothing I can offer you. I guess I can leave you my ID, but in the back of my head, there was a sense of like, okay, if none of this worked, it probably wasn't meant to be. And in hindsight, it was definitely meant to be. Like the freaking interest rate on my credit card plus the interest rate on my student loan, it doesn't even come close to the amount of explosivity that the OP36 had in the year 2020, where it went from, I think it was retail, the retail was like 6,700 with tax included. And the resale back then was like 9 to 10K because it was discontinued. Like in the range, there was no longer a wide dial Oyster Perpetual. So in hindsight, I should have just ignored like the logic in my head and just bought the freaking watch, but I didn't. I didn't buy it. I left that day, And I remember in the fateful day of late March of 2020, I was chilling at home, not really doing much, just kind of scrolling, going through YouTube, and then I saw Baselworld has came out. And guess what? The Oyster Perpetual range. Okay, I remember this, right? I was like, I really thought about the OP36, this watch, the 116000, and I was like, okay, the only way they can make this watch better, that it would be even more of an instant buy for me, was if they added a micro extension link. So I was very keen to pay attention to like the Baselworld news, see what Rolex comes out with. I'm like, okay, please come up with the OP36 with the micro extension link, right? So I saw the news, and I remember back then, you know, like the thumbnail, like they had the six, I think 5 or 6 different colors, and I was like, oh shit, there's a new change to the OP36. So I went into it and I saw the blog and it said micro extension link. I was like, yes, finally, like I got what I wanted. This is so perfect. I'm gonna go buy the white one now. But it turns out the white one was discontinued. So I was like, no way, like none of these colors would do for me. Like I guess the black one and the green one was the most subtle back then. I think a lot of us had the same sentiment of when these watches first came out, we were like, oh my god, these colors are so wild. Like who's gonna want the coral red? Who's gonna want the mustard yellow? Who's gonna want the Tiffany blue? Like this is a girl's watch, right? But look at what happened now. Okay, so at that point I was like, okay, I need to go to Rolex ASAP and I need to buy this goddamn watch, because if I don't, it's gonna explode into craziness. Because I've seen what happened to the watches before. I forgot which model it was that, like at this time I haven't been in the watch game for too long. I think I only started like early 2018. But already I know some models have been discontinued, and I saw the prices just shoot up like crazy, like nothing else. So I was like, okay, I need to get this watch. I remember I still don't have enough cash. Who has like 7K in their bank account, right? Especially at my age. So I was like, okay, I need to buy this watch right now. I brought out my laptop. I looked at Google Maps. I looked at all the different Rolex authorized dealers, boutiques in Vancouver, and I was calling each and every one of them up. I was like, yo, do you have the white Oyster Perpetual 36? Even the white dial 39 would do, but the white dial is 39 is more popular than the 36. So of course none of them had it. I know GWC Rolex at that time, they had a grape dial 36, and Palacio Jewelers, they had a steel gray dial 36 as well. But back then I was like, well, I'm not really sure if I can get a dial swap. And also I've heard things like if a watch is new, like when it's still within warranty, you can't get a dial swap, whatever. Like it's all just rumors and noises in my head. I wasn't sure if it was true or not. But at that time I was like, okay, you know what, like it is the Oyster Perpetual 36. It is not a very popular size for a lot of people. So I'm gonna wait it out, and maybe this watch will stay around retail and I'll just buy it on the secondary market. Because I remember like the day the news came out, check Chrono, and there were like $8,000 on Chrono already. Which to me was like, it's crazy. Like who's gonna pay like $1,000 over retail for Oyster Perpetual? And boy, how wrong was I? Like it just went into craziness. Like you remember the Tiffany dial Oyster Perpetuals? It was like, was it 25K or 40K? I don't remember, but that's still like at least 3 times the price of it at retail. It's just freaking craziness. So with all that being said, I have totally missed the boat on buying my dream watch, the watch that motivated me to grind hard in my last year to find a job that could count as my career and to advance forward. I have lost a chance to buy it at retail. And at that time, you know, as time went on, 2020, 2021, 2022, it just went from 8,000 to 8,005 to 9,000 to 9,005 to eventually 10,000 and then 10,005. And this is what I did next. All right, so we're in November 2021. I have just wrapped up a big project at work. I got a pretty good amount of bonus, and I was like, all right, I want to finally buy a Rolex. I remember back then I had my Tudor Black Bay 58, if I'm not mistaken, the one that I got off Craigslist. I have a video of that. You can check it out in the description of this video. I had that watch, and I think I might have had a Seiko. My memory is a bit blurry there because it was a while ago. But I remember I was like, okay, I need to get this watch. If I keep waiting, it's gonna go up to 11,000. It's gonna go up to 12,000. It's gonna go into complete insanity. So I checked Chrono 24, and at that time the cheapest listing was for 10.5, right? $10,500. Now this was a watch that was in the States, so I was like, okay, if Chrono's listing it for 10.5, they have a seller's fee. I can probably find one for cheaper locally. So I messaged this guy. I've been following this guy on Instagram for a while. His name is Hamza. His Instagram and Facebook handle is Prominent Time. This is not a plug. I'm just kind of telling it as it is, as it flows into my brain. So I DM him on Instagram. I'm like, hey man, do you know if I can get an Oyster Perpetual 36, reference number 116000, white dial, anywhere? And I thought he would have like some secret like circle of dealers within Vancouver that might have a watch or can source a watch, but this guy just sends me screenshots from the Chrono 24. I was like, I was like, okay, I didn't have to go to you for this, but maybe you can get me a better price. So he did tell me that him and this guy were part of like a Rolex dealer chat across North America, and he can get this watch to me for exactly 10.5 with no import tax, no tax, no duties, whatever. And me, I don't know how my brain functioned then, because I would never do this again, but I was like, okay, you know, this guy, like, I liked a few of his photos. He liked a few of my photos. I've seen him around. I've seen him post on the Rolex Collectors of Canada Facebook group. So he must be legit. So I was like, okay, yeah, sure, why not? Let me do that, because I don't plan on buying this watch to flip or to salvage value or anything. Of course, I totally understand, and I totally do care if the watch crashes after I buy it. Hint, hint, that's definitely what happened to the market right now. But it's a dream watch for me, right? It's a gold watch. It's a watch that's supposed to mark a milestone for me. It's a very sentimental watch, even though I haven't even bought it at that time. I was like, okay, throughout like 2 years of me chasing this watch, I need to have it. So I was like, yeah, okay, whatever, like tell me how it works, right? So he's like, okay, just transfer me $2,000. I'm gonna put it down as a deposit. The guy's gonna ship the watch over. You're gonna pay me in full in person. I'm gonna wire the rest of the money to him, or whatever, however it works. So I was like, okay, you got it. So I just transfer him $2,000. I don't even know what this guy looks like. He just has this little logo, this black and gold logo as his Instagram and Facebook profile picture. But I sent him the money, and he's like, you can pick it up a week and a half from now. I'll let you know when it arrives. So I'm like, okay, sounds good. And throughout that 1 week and a half, knowing myself now, I would have been stressed, man. I would have been like, yo, like, where's my watch? Where's my money? Did this guy scam me? And just spam message him. But back then, I was just so excited about my watch. And I guess I was busy with work too, so I didn't really think too much about it. Then came the day he DM'd me. I read it. He's like, your watch is here. I'll be here from whatever PM to whatever PM. And I remember I was at work that day. So I was like, okay, can I go see you tomorrow? Which was a weekend. He's like, sure, no problem. Just come whenever you're able to. So I remember early in the morning, it was like 8 a.m. I got in the car. I drove there, met him in person. This is actually a super chill dude. Really tall guy. I don't know why that's relevant, but tall guy. And I went in there, not really sure like how the process went. I wasn't sure if it was kind of like his office, his work, this is a side hustle, or if it's like his home or whatever. But I remember going in there, it was this travel agency. I still don't know if he was an employer, maybe his family owns it or whatever, or maybe he owns it. But I was there, and it was a little awkward because he didn't talk much, and I didn't talk much too, because this is my first time doing it, right? He's the watch dealer. He's like, hey, this is your watch, check it out. I remember like, you go in there, it's just this straight room, right? You have a little table in the back. You have a little table in the front, and then on top of the table was the Rolex box. So I looked at it, and then me having no purchase experience, I don't know what box is supposed to be correct. I don't know, you know, if it's the plastic box supposed to be plastic? Is the white outer cover box supposed to have this little slit that comes down, just like the Tudor boxes do? But I looked at it, I was like, wow, this is beautiful. Like, this is everything I wanted. So I bought it, paid cash. Guy was tall. It was kind of scary. Okay, not gonna lie, it was a little bit scary. So I got out of there, got back into my car, make sure no one was following me. Looked at my watch, I was like, wow, man, this is so great. Like, I just got my first Rolex. And I drove home, and I wore it happily ever since. Actually, I want to throw this out there. So I actually didn't wear it happily ever since for the first full year, actually, because I was like, shit, man, like I'm young, like I just got a Rolex, like I don't feel like I'm supposed to have this, I don't feel like I deserve it. So I would wear it on weekends, or like I would get off work, I'll wear my tutor to work, I remember, and I would come home, strap on my Rolex, take a lot of wrist shots and post on my Instagram and just be happy about it myself and not tell anyone. I remember I had this coworker, this great guy from work, and we would talk a lot about watches. I never told him that I had this watch until like way after, like even after I left the job, I didn't tell him until afterwards. And I was like, okay, I feel like it is time. I feel comfortable enough to finally be posting this watch online, to be telling people that I have a Rolex. My dream has been fulfilled. I did tell them, I told everyone basically about like my journey of chasing this 116000 that just got out of the grasp of my hands. And yeah, it's just a great story. I would think so. It's a story that has a happy ending, albeit I did pay $10,500. And this watch on Chrono 24 is probably, I think the last time I checked was 8,500 or 9,000. It freaking crashed, man. And you know what? It is a watch that I'm gonna keep, or I think. And I'm gonna just leave it at that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, this has been the story of how I got the Oyster Perpetual 36. I'm gonna do a long-term review of it pretty soon. I think I've had it for a little bit over 2 years now. Let me know what your thoughts are, guys. If you had a similar experience buying your Rolex. I know a lot of us collectors now, we just dream of buying a Rolex at retail, but back then it was actually attainable, but I just missed the train. So let me know what you guys think. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe, share it with your friends. Like this video, and I will see you in the next one. Cut!